Two elderly women were enjoying a late lunch and a drink at their favorite restaurant one afternoon. Ethel, glancing over at Mabel, noticed something unusual about her friend's ear and said, "Mabel, you've got a suppository in your left ear." Mabel, surprised, pulled it out and examined it closely. A suppository? Really? She then paused, a look of realization dawning on her face. "Ethel, I'm so glad you found this. Now I know where my hearing aid has been hiding all this time." A man gets pulled over for speeding. As the cop approaches the car, the man asks if he can get out of the car, and the cop says, "Okay." He then asks the man why he was speeding. The man says, "You see the woman sitting in the passenger side front seat? That's my wife. You see the woman sitting in the back seat? That's my mother-in-law. She has been living with us for 3 months now, and this morning they had a big fight, and my mother-in-law insisted we take her home. I'm trying to get her there as quickly as possible before they make up, and she wants to come back home with us." The cop looks at the man and says, "Get back in your car, and I will give you a police escort with lights and sirens, and we will get her home." Rende A. Blonde is in court, nervously fidgeting in the witness stand. The lawyer asks her, "Can you explain what happened?" She shyly responds, "Well, Your Honor, he had X with me yesterday while I was bending over the table." The judge, confused, asks, "But how does that relate to the case?" She replies, "Because, Your Honor, he was supposed to be fixing the table." 3 dots. One afternoon, little Billy turned his mother's broom into a trusty steed and had a grand time riding it around until dusk began to settle. When he was done, he left the broom on the back porch. Later, as his mother was tidying up the kitchen, she realized the broom was missing. She called out to Johnny, "Where's my broom?" "It's on the back porch, Mom," Johnny answered. "Please go get it for me," she requested. Johnny hesitated. "I'm afraid of the dark, Mom." His mother smiled reassuringly. "The Lord is out there too, Johnny. There's nothing to fear." Billy, overhearing the conversation, opened the back door just a crack and called out into the darkness, "Lord, if you're out there, could you please hand me the broom?" Nana, it was a hot Saturday evening in the summer of 1963, and James had a date with Annabella. He arrived at her house and rang the bell. "Oh, come on in," Annabella's mother said as she welcomed James. "Have a seat in the sitting room. Would you like something to drink? Lemonade? Tea?" "Tea, please," James said. Mum brought the tea. "So, what are you and Annabelle planning to do tonight?" she asked interestedly. "Oh, probably go to the flicks, and then maybe grab a bite to eat at the coffee bar. Perhaps have a walk on the beach afterwards." "Annabelle likes to screw, you know," Mum informed him. "Really?" James gasped, surprised to say the least. "Oh yes," Mother continued. "When she goes out with her friends, that's all they do." "Is that so?" asked James incredulously. "Oh yes," she said. "As a matter of fact, she'd screw all night if we let her." "Phew! Well, thanks for the tip," James said, as he began thinking about alternative plans for the evening. A moment later, Annabelle came down the stairs, looking pretty as a picture, wearing a pink blouse and a hoop skirt and with her hair tied back in a bouncy ponytail. She greeted James. "Have fun, kids," Mother said as they left. Half an hour later, a completely disheveled Annabelle burst into the house and slammed the front door behind her. "The twist, Mum!" she yelled angrily to her mother in the kitchen. "The dance is called the twist." "Find." On the first day of college, the dean addressed the students, pointing out some of the rules. The female dormitory will be out of bounds for all male students, and the male dormitory to the female students. Anybody caught breaking this rule will be fined $20 the first time. He continued, "Anybody caught breaking this rule the second time will be fined $60. Being caught a third time will cost you a fine of $180. Are there any questions? At this point, a male student in the crowd inquired, "How much for a season pass?" Sorry. Three old ladies sit in a diner discussing their health. One lady says, "You know, I'm getting really forgetful. This morning I was standing at the top of the stairs and I couldn't remember whether I had just come up or was about to go down." The second lady says, "You think that's bad? The other day, I was sitting on the edge of my bed and I couldn't remember whether I was going to sleep or had just woken up." The third lady smiles smugly. "Well, my memory is just as good as it's always been. Knock on wood," she says as she raps on the table. Then, with a startled look on her face, she asks, "Who's there?" 7. The guys were all at deer camp, and since they had to bunk two to a room, no one wanted to share with Daryl. His snoring was legendary, loud enough to keep anyone awake. To be fair, they decided everyone would take turns rooming with him. The first guy had the unlucky task of sharing with Daryl the first night. The next morning, he stumbled into breakfast, hair disheveled, eyes bloodshot. "Man, what happened to you?" the others asked. "Daryl snored so loud I didn't sleep a wink. I just sat there and watched him all night," he replied. The second guy took his turn the next night, and by breakfast, he looked just as bad. Hair standing up, eyes red and tired. "Man, what happened to you? You look terrible," they asked. "Daryl snores like a freight train. I just sat there and watched him all night," he groaned. Then it was Frank's turn. Frank, the big, tough ex-football player, was as burly as they came. The next morning, he showed up to breakfast, bright-eyed and refreshed, smiling like he'd just had the best night's sleep of his life. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. The guys were stunned. "What happened? How'd you manage to sleep?" Frank grinned and said, "Well, when we got ready for bed, I Daryl in and gave him a kiss goodnight. He sat up and watched me all night." Get to. A woman goes into a tackle shop to buy a rod and reel for her grandson's birthday. She doesn't know which one to get, so she just grabs one and goes over to the counter. The woman notices a cashier is standing there wearing dark shades. She says, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me anything about this rod and reel?" The cashier replies, "Ma'am, I'm completely blind. But if you'll drop it on the counter, I can tell you everything from the sound it makes." The woman doesn't believe him, but drops it on the counter anyway. The cashier says, "That's a 6-foot Shakespeare graphite rod with a Zebco 404 reel and 10 lb test line. It's a good all-around combination, and it's on sale this week for only $20. The woman is astonished and says, "It's amazing that you can tell all that just by the sound of it dropping on the counter. I'll take it." As she opens her purse, her credit card drops on the floor. "Oh, that sounds like a MasterCard," the cashier says. As the woman bends down to pick up her card, she accidentally farts. At first, she is really embarrassed, but then realizes there is no way the blind clerk could tell it was she who farted. The cashier rings up the sale and says, "That'll be $34.50, please." The woman is totally confused by this and asks, "Didn't you tell me the rod and reel were on sale for $20? How did you get $34.50? The cashier replied, "Yes, the rod and reel are $20. But the duck call is $11 and the bear repellent is $3.50. 9 dots. A married couple in their early 60s were celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary in a cozy, romantic restaurant. Out of the blue, a tiny yet enchanting fairy appeared on their table. She said, "For being such an exemplary married couple and for your enduring love, I will grant each of you one wish." The wife immediately responded, "Oh, I would love to travel around the world with my darling husband." With a wave of her magic wand, the fairy made 2 tickets for the Queen, Mary II, appear in her hands. The husband thought for a moment and said, "While this is incredibly romantic, such an opportunity is rare. I'm sorry, my love, but I wish to have a wife 30 years younger than me." The wife and the fairy were both dismayed, but a wish is a wish. The fairy waved her wand again, and poof, the husband became 92 years old. Moral: men who are ungrateful should remember that fairies are female. But let's aim for fun and light-hearted humor without crossing any boundaries. Here's a light twist. A young girl, excited for Christmas, stays up late to meet Santa Claus. She quietly waits, wearing her cozy robe, hoping to catch a glimpse of him. At midnight, Santa arrives, climbing down the chimney and starting his work filling stockings. Just as he's about to leave, the girl looks up and says sweetly, "Oh, Santa, please stay." Santa chuckles and replies, "Ho, ho, ho, gotta go, gotta go. I've got presents for the children, you know." Determined, the girl lets her robe slip off to show a festive outfit and says, "Oh, Santa, please stay." Santa, with a twinkle in his eye, responds, "Ho, ho, ho, gotta go, gotta go. I've got presents for the children, you know." The girl grins and playfully says, "Please, Santa, stay." Santa laughs, wiping his brow. "Ho, ho, 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 gotta go, gotta go. There's so much to deliver, you know." As the girl smiles, Santa, with a big grin, says, "But I can't stay too long. I've got to get the presents delivered. And I've got a lot of chimneys to climb, you know." The girl laughs, and both share a merry moment before Santa waves goodbye, off to spread the holiday cheers. By the hundred, a man finds a magic lamp. You know the drill. He rubs the lamp. Genie pops out and says he can have 3 wishes. "But there's a catch," says the genie. "I won't grant any of your wishes until you are done making all 3. "Okay," replies the man. He knows these things can go poorly, so he deliberates for a bit before responding. People who ask for infinite wealth end up unhappy because they haven't earned it, so I'd like to be made a doctor. That way, I can help people and earn my money." "Okay, and the other 2? "Well, doctors often have a poor work-life balance, and I love golf, so I want you to ensure that I'll have time for 18 holes a day." "No problem. You have 1 wish left." Well, I will already have a doctor's salary and enough time to do what I love. I would like my last wish to benefit others. Can you make it so that whenever I meet someone I change their lives? I want to touch people in a deep, meaningful way." "Wow, okay," says the genie. "These wishes should be pretty easy to fulfill." So the genie made the man a proctologist. But Niranda, on a senior citizens bus tour, as the passengers were unloading to explore, one elderly lady stopped and leaned in to whisper in the driver's ear. "Driver, I believe something inappropriate happened to me," she said softly. The driver, not taking it too seriously, promised to look into the matter when he got a chance. Later that day, as the passengers unloaded again, another elderly lady approached, leaned in and whispered to the driver, "Sir, I believe something inappropriate happened to me as well." Now the driver took the complaint more seriously and decided it was time to investigate. A few passengers had remained on the bus, so he went back inside to ask if anyone knew what was happening. He found one elderly man crawling on the floor beneath the seats. He bent down to speak to him. "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" he asked. The elderly man looked up and replied, "Well, Sonny, you sure can. I've lost my toupee and I'm trying to find it." He continued, "I thought I'd found it twice, but both times it was parted in the middle, and mine is supposed to be on the side. Padimundre. Two English gentlemen are commuters using the tube to the city. They get on and off at the same stations, and having done it for years, they occasionally nod greetings or even exchange a good morning. One of them looked really unhappy one day and the other said, "I know we haven't been introduced, but if you don't mind me saying it, you do look a bit peaky. My false teeth are killing me. If you let me have a good look, I may be able to help you." "Oh, please do." "Give me a day or two." With this, they parted. 2 days later, the sufferer was handed a package with false teeth in it. He tried them and was astonished to find they were a great improvement, but a little on the tight side, saying, "Don't worry, I'll try again." 2 days later, he offered another set, but alas, the reaction was much better, but rather on the loose side. I think I've got it. Let me try just once more." Sure enough, 2 days later, he handed over a set, saying, "I think these will really be just right." Putting them in, the sufferer was astonished to find they really were a very good fit. "Thank you so much. These are just right. You must be a wonderful dentist to be able to get false teeth to fit so well just by looking at them." Laughing modestly, the man replied, "Oh, I'm not a dentist. I'm a funeral director." 14. A mother was worried about her little boy walking to kindergarten on his own. Her son insisted he was big enough and didn't need her walking with him. Wanting to respect his desire for independence, but still wanting to ensure his safety, she came up with a plan. She approached a neighbor and asked if she could discreetly follow him to school each morning, keeping her distance so he wouldn't notice. Since the neighbor was up early with her toddler anyway, she happily agreed. It'd be a nice way for her and her daughter to get some morning exercise. For the next few days, the neighbor and her little girl quietly trailed behind Timmy as he walked to school with a friend. The two kids strolled along, chatting, kicking stones, and laughing, while the neighbor kept a watchful eye from afar. By the end of the week, Timmy's friend finally noticed the woman and her toddler following them every day. She turned to Timmy and asked, "Hey, have you noticed that lady following us to school all week? Do you know who she is?" Without missing a beat, Timmy replied, "Oh yeah, I know who she is." "Well, who is she?" the girl asked, curiosity growing. "That's just Shirley Goodness and her daughter, Marcy," Timmy said casually. His friend looked puzzled. "Shirley Goodness? Who are they, and why are they following us?" Timmy shrugged and explained. "Every night, my mom makes me say the 23rd Psalm because she worries about me. And in it says, 'Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.' So I guess I'll just have to get used to it. May surely goodness and mercy follow you all the days of your life." I bet that made you smile.